Hi, hello everyone. So with Brexit dominating the news all day, every day, it seems, I really wanted to get someone on my vlog to have a good chat about what it all means, get the lowdown on the reality and something different from what's covered in the lamestream news. So in today's video, I'm delighted to be joined by Martin Costello, or Costello, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Without the E.
Okay. And he's just the man to ask about Britain's impending departure from the EU dictatorship. So, just to introduce you, Martin, you ran for the UK Independence Party in local and national elections,
Yes.
but you're now a member of Nigel Farage's new party, the Brexit Party. So I'd like to think you have some strong opinions on all the Brexit shenanigans we're seeing at the moment. Martin also has a good vlog on YouTube under your own name, Martin Costello, and is also a regular contributor to the YouTube channel, The Brexiteers, with David Poulden, I'm not sure. But both YouTube channels are well worth checking out, and I'll leave a link to both in the description box. So thanks for joining me today, Martin. It's a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, I'm curious with your surname. Do you have any Irish blood in you? Because as far as I know, it's an Irish.
Yes, I certainly do. My grandparents were Irish actually on my father's side, and they emigrated to London in the Second World War whilst all the bombing was going on. To help out with the rebuilding work. So yeah, I'm Irish on that part anyway. So County Cavan for those who know that area.
Great. And do you ever have a chance to visit the ancestral home, maybe?
I don't, but it's somewhere I really to, and I'm hoping I can do. It should be a cheap EasyJet flight over there, so I'm hoping to go see Dublin at some point, and I'm a big Guinness drinker, as people know, so I want to taste a pint of real Guinness, stuff that they put in cans over here.
Yeah, I seen some of those videos. You're drinking a lot of Guinness. So Brexit, the first question, Brexit, will it happen? Yes or no? What's your thought on the way Brexit is going?
Well, I don't believe it will do. At the moment, all we're seeing once again is just a smoke and mirrors going on. It just seems to be all completely orchestrated. And I think what will happen, we'll run it right into the last minute, and then suddenly there'll be another delay, or we'll leave in what we call Brino, Brexit in name only, where we'll still be shackled to things like the customs union, the single market, and obviously the courts. All these things that David Cameron said that we would leave if we voted to leave back for. So we need to clean break Brexit and to chop everything away and start again. But I honestly do not believe it will happen. There's just too much corruption and things going on. Theresa May was put there for 3 years to waste that time, which she successfully did. And once again, she was always a Remainer, but I think deep down there's a huge betrayal going on. And at the moment, we're not just fighting just for our freedom. We're fighting for the whole of Europe to liberate ourselves from this dictatorship. So there's a lot riding on this. And I think as soon as we do get out, stop all that funding, that whole rotten project's just going to come crashing down, and not before time.
Yeah, I mean, it changes every day. The latest we find is that Boris Johnson is talking about a deal, but the thing, it could be Theresa May's deal now called Boris Johnson's deal. I mean,
exactly.
We're not
all it is basically he's rehashing Theresa May's awful deal, but just minus the backstop, and this is all the part of the smoke and mirrors I speak of. It's not Brexit at all. It's not what we voted for. We wanted a clean break because we were never asked if we want what our relationships become. So that's why we need to get away now, because we will lose our sovereignty if we don't. It's so important. But all he's going to do is there'll be, like I said, lots of smoke and mirrors over the next couple of weeks, and he'll rehash Theresa May's deal. Everyone will think it's fantastic because that's the sort of idea they're giving it, but we'll all be just absolutely, completely cheated. So we will not be leaving on the 31st of October. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, and the thing with, if there is a deal, the way we're thinking, it could be a rehash of Theresa May's deal. They're talking about a new referendum, so in the referendum it could be this rubbish deal, or we remain, England remains or the UK remains.
Exactly.
That's not going to work.
It's not at all. And the funny thing is, well, there was no talk of a deal before the EU referendum, but this is what they're been trying to do all along, is have this second referendum because they didn't like the results of the first. But I say yes, let us have a second referendum, but let's have it in 10 years' time after we've implemented the first one. Then we can reassess it. Because what you never hear about is the Remainers. They never try to sell us how wonderful the EU is, because it simply isn't. They're just scared of change. So we need that clean break Brexit, get out. And I genuinely believe we will thrive outside the EU, because that thing is just there's so many cracks being papered over, and it's better that we get out now on a life raft and then not be a part of the collapse of it.
Well, like, I'm from Ireland, and like, we voted not just once, we voted twice against the EU, the diktats.
But they didn't like your answer. That's the problem.
Lisbon and the Nice Treaty, I think, was and we were forced to vote again. And
it's funny. You mentioned the Lisbon Treaty. You mentioned the Lisbon Treaty there because Tony Blair actually got re-elected in his third term because he promised us a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty, but then he withdrew it. He took that away from us, and then Gordon Brown snuck off over to Brussels to sign it. So you see how they feed us these things just to keep us going, but they never act upon it. And I was absolutely horrified to hear what happened in Ireland, and that's what really got me involved a bit more in this, because I knew it was going to get very messy.
Yeah, well, as I said, like, to convince the people to vote for the treaty the second time round, they have guarantees, like guarantee that Irish troops won't be involved in an EU army, etc. But they're not. I don't think they're guaranteed by law. I just think they're, like, trust us, we guarantee it. We're politicians, we're honest.
Yeah, and we know where that's got us.
So what do you think? So do you think the end result, there won't be a deal at the end of this October 31st?
Well, in my heart of heart, there will be a deal, but it will be absolutely betrayal, complete betrayal. It is what they wanted all along, to keep us in the single market things. But it's for a transition period and all this. But we've, this has gone on over for 3 years now. And it's just gone beyond a joke. Why can't they see the disruption that it's causing to everyday people's lives? Even people who voted Remain, they're just sick of it now. They're just absolutely sick. We just want to see it done. And we're a great country, and we're being held back by this thing. So let's just get us out. If I'll tell you what, if they don't get us out on the 31st of October, they will get absolutely slaughtered in the next general election, because there's obviously the Brexit Party done very well in the EU polls, and even UKIP might make a resurgence if there's nothing else, because people are so mad and they just want what they voted for.
Yeah. So the last few years we had Theresa May, a Remainer, trying to get a Brexit deal, which is kind of strange. Do you think that she messed up on purpose, or was she really that hopeless? Was this planned, or?
Well, I think a bit of both, to be honest. I think she. We look at her record as the Home Office secretary. She's done absolutely appallingly in her 6 years to reduce immigration. And then, of course, she got elected on the false promise that she'll see Brexit out. She said over 108 times in the Commons that we'll be leaving on the 29th of March, which we know never happened, even though it was enshrined in law.
Brexit means Brexit. The campaign was fought, the vote was held, turnout was high, and the public gave their verdict. There must be no attempts to remain inside the EU, no attempts to rejoin it through the back door, and no second referendum. The country voted to leave the European Union, and it is the duty of the government and parliament to make sure we do just that.
But this is all part of it. She clearly had no interest in taking us out. She was a Remainer from the start. She campaigned for Remain, and that showed all the way up to the top level. So she, as far as she's concerned, she's done a job properly. And now the next phase is to get this so-called Brexiteer in the name of Boris Johnson, who I do not believe will get us completely out. It's just so corrupt. It makes the mind boggles. But I would not put anything past them now to overturn this. They'll do anything.
Well, you said Brexiteer. I mean, do you think Boris is a real Brexiteer, or is he just taking the piss.
Well, I think he is. You know,
Um,
he hasn't. He should be shouting out about more why we'll thrive outside the EU and fight harder that way. But I think he, as we know, he was actually selected to lead the Leave campaign back in 2016. But I honestly think they thought they'd choose someone like him because he's bungling Boris, and he seems to be, seems a little bit crazy and stuff. But I think maybe it's backfired a bit. Now they selected him to try and thwart the rest of the deal, because don't forget he voted for Theresa May's deal, and that's a huge problem, because that's betrayal. So there's no way his heart can be in this. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and as far as I know, Jacob Rees-Mogg voted for Theresa May's deal as well.
He did.
You weren't for the deal. The Prime Minister made a speech. Then you were in favour. Then the DU spoke, and now you appear not to be in favour.
No, I'm in favour of the deal, and I hope the DUP will come over to the deal, but we'll have to wait and see what they do.
He did.
I mean, I don't know what's going on there, because that deal was actually worse than Brexit, really, wasn't it?
That really shocked me, that did. And I was really dismayed over that, because, I mean, how could anyone back that deal? It was wrong. Even if they were the only ones to vote against it, they should have just done that, because that's what people voted for in the 2017 general election, you know?
Yeah, so the question is, can you trust them? Because they, like, for a long time, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson were saying how bad Theresa May's deal and it was terrible and the worst thing. Two of them vote for it.
Exactly. And now it's perfectly okay. It's like they play with people's emotions, don't they? And that's exactly what Boris is doing at the moment. As we said, they're just going to rehash Theresa May's deal. But how can that suddenly be fantastic? You know, there's something very sinister about it all, and you cannot trust them. You absolutely can't. They say never trust a Tory, and it's true.
So, if they do get this deal, that still has to go through Parliament, doesn't it? First.
I believe so, and again, it may fall flat there. So there'll be a lot of skullduggery going on. But I'm certain a lot of these people have already been paid off by somebody, because you got people like Jo Swinson, who's leader of the Liberal Democrats. She was desperate for a referendum like 10 years ago, and now all of a sudden she's trying to overturn it. But then when you look into her private life, her husband is he benefits like a couple of £1 million off the EU. It's like a lot of these people, they all seem to get something off the EU, like those judges the other week at the Supreme Court. Somebody said that I think it was about 11 out of the 12 voted to remain, and they've all got they get dividends and things from the EU, so they're all getting money. It's just treachery at the highest order. And I'll tell you what, I don't think our Parliament has seen such treachery since Cromwell's time in that civil war. It is that bad. It's without the weapons at the moment. But this is the sort of level that's going on. They're all getting their 30 pieces of silver, and they're screwing the country over in the process. It's outrageous.
Well, with the court thing, I thought it was hilarious that they said that this was not. They said this was not a political decision, but of course it was a political decision. It was silly to say that, wasn't it? So if it goes to, I think it's applied by Boris Johnson to get this deal, so he can go back he can have a general election and say to the people, look, I tried my best, but my hands are tied, but I got this deal. I think this is the best we have. But I think the Conservatives, if they want to do well, they might have to make some kind of, I don't know, a pact with the Brexit Party to step aside in certain.
Yes, well, I think Farage actually has already approached Boris Johnson, but Boris said he's completely not interested, because what we were going to do is not run against Brexiteer seats. But suddenly Boris Johnson snubbed the Brexit Party, which is a very foolish thing to do, because I think they've underestimated how quickly and how important this party's become. You know, all we want to see in there is that result delivered. So all these, I mean, if you looked at the a map of all the Leave seats, it completely dominates the country outside the capital and of course Scotland. And all these MPs in these seats have completely ignored the wishes of their constituents. So they're going to be in for a very rough ride, I think, if they call a general election. They don't and they don't have a pact with the Brexit Party, because we could wipe out the Labour Party if we did that, no problem, because the Labour Party, you know, they do not speak for the working class anymore. They haven't done for a long time, probably since before Blair. I think John Smith was the last real Labour leader, but they don't look after the interests of the working class anymore. They're more interested in getting migrants over and getting votes and things that way. Champagne socialists that live in a bubble.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gonna, because the opposition, like Labour, Lib Dem, the new party, what's it called, Change or something? I don't know.
Change, yeah. I'm not sure if it's still going, actually.
They're so divided, like it's pretty much, it's a very weak opposition, you know. So it's going to be interesting what way.
One of the biggest faults of our system, and what we got is first past the post voting system. And what we need is proportional representation, because that is why it's turned into such turmoil, because like nobody's really represented, a very small amount, maybe like 30% of the electorate, you know. If we had voices from different areas, and it would like other countries do, and actually how the European Union actually elect people within the UK, it'd be a lot fairer that way. I say the European Union elect people that way, but of course, as we know, when they get into the Parliament, they haven't got a voice anyway, so it's completely different. The whole system needs changing.
With relation to the backstop bollocks, I think it is, but like for me, I mean, I live in Switzerland, so I regularly cross into the EU border, you know, at least once a week, at least once every second week, you know, and it doesn't ever seem to be a problem. Now I know for trade and haulage and all stuff like that, it might be stops at the border, etc. But I don't know, like it doesn't seem such a big deal. At least Switzerland are not suffering because of being so close to the EU border. So I think it's just a load of bullshit, if you ask me, because like it's obvious no one wants a hard border. That's a given. So, and I see it from the Irish perspective. You have Irish politicians, and then you have Sinn Féin agitating all the time with the help of the EU, and Sinn Féin used to be always against the European Union, and the last election now they're suddenly being very pro EU. I mean, and it's got to do with because there's so many politicians being elected to the European Parliament, so it's a nice cushy number for them. So they're always agitating for trouble, I think, and they're kind of using the Irish question again, and you know, that could flare up again. But
you know what? You know, it absolutely appalls me that they're using those troubles that we had in the past as a beating stick for these negotiations of things. I think that's absolutely appalling. And I'll tell you what, the EU would love trouble to flare up again. They'd be absolutely delighted by that. They don't care about the Irish or the Northern Irish at all. Of course they don't. They're just using it as a way to get what they want. It's absolutely appalling.
Well, if you see it from the Irish media and the political class, it's constant stirring anti-British rhetoric all the time. Anti-British, and the people that vote for Brexit are
racist.
You know, and well, they're morons, etc., etc. Don't know what they're doing. They're idiots. Blah, blah. You know, and it's just constant. But they don't seem to understand that they're just ordinary working class people that are just sick and tired, and this is their chance to punch above for once.
Yeah, you know, people sick to death of, like, you know, having people come over from different countries and undercutting them on work and things, you know, bed sits and sending the money back home. That's not fair. That's not fair on the people who reside in that country. But we know the elite love this because they can obviously it's all for profit and money. It's not for the good of the people. Well, you know, they spin this line that, oh yeah, you don't want people coming in your races. It's nothing to do with that. We welcome really, you know, hard-working doctors and nurses and people that we need in an Australian points-based system. They're great. But what we don't want is a mass of unskilled people coming in, going out on, you know, building sites and things, undercutting our own people. It's not fair.
Well, we see it with our own in Ireland. Doctors and nurses, we like literally every country except Ireland. You have Irish doctors, Irish nurses all over the world. You know, and there's a famous picture in Sydney with all the nurses, and they had a big banner: "We want to go home," but they can't go home because they've been, you know, they won't get the equal opportunities. They never get the fair crack of the whip. And the cost of living in Ireland is so expensive because the high rents. I wonder why that. You know, but the point I'm trying to make is like that you have an Irish class, political class, and media elites that never cared about Northern Ireland themselves. We have like Fine Gael in power, and they were always counted as West Brits, and now suddenly they're really interested, and they're like waving the flag in their, you know, Irish nationalist core. So it's just the point I'm trying to make is that yes, they're using the border question just to create trouble and to have all the people on the borderlands gone mad, you know, and it's just they're stirring this anti-British rhetoric all the time, and you know, I don't know what they're trying to do. I mean, it could get very dangerous, and I thought we left all that behind us, but you know, it's
it's being whipped up again.
And the thing is, if anything does kick off, they're going to blame all the people that voted for you know, Brexit. They're going to blame the UK. Exactly. They're going to blame the country. So they have a perfect ready-made fall guy, someone to blame. You know, okay,
exactly.
It's not our fault. We just, you know.
And these are sort of people we're dealing with. You know, they're very nasty people.
So why is why is it such a big deal in your opinion? Why is the backstop? Why is this being played out so much?
Well, it's the only card they've got, isn't it? Trying to scare people with this border. When it's like you said, it's absolutely no issue whatsoever. But they've got nothing else. I mean, what else can they say? We buy far more off the EU than we sell to them. We're one of the biggest donors of money. I mean, they've got no argument, have they? So all they're trying to do is just whip up this issue here, trying to say, oh, if you don't do what we want, then there'll be trouble. So it's kind of a mild threat of violence, really. It's very, very wrong. But we can't let them get away with this. And like I said, we've just got to get out as soon as possible. That date cannot slip. And I'm really, really fearful that there will be civil unrest in the UK if we don't leave at the end of the month, you know? Because you can hear it on the public transport, in the shops, and that. You can hear people talking about it. And everyone seems to be on the same wavelength, apart from the media, like the BBC, who are awful, awful propaganda machine. And they are trying to, I suppose, spew out this propaganda in the way that Joseph Goebbels would have done, trying to change people's opinions and things. And it's wrong. And all they're doing is causing the division that we see in our country, because it was a horrible place to be like a few weeks after the referendum result, when people were arguing, oh, you know, you're getting called racist and all that, because they wouldn't really listen to the real reasons why we voted to leave. But you know, we all want an end to it now. We want to reunite our country again. We've made a decision, whatever that, you know, let's stick with that. Let's go. It doesn't matter if it's the right or wrong decision now. If it's not implemented, our democracy's dead, and that's the bottom line. It's all about our democracy now, because why ever bother having another referendum if it's just going to be ignored? That is the bottom line.
Well, I think the danger is, like, I mean, as I said, like, Ireland voted twice against the Nice and the Lisbon, and there was always we always had that 20, 30, 40% anti-EU sentiment in Ireland, but because those votes were overturned, and then we had constant media pressure about how bad it would be if we ever thought about leaving the EU or the EU again, and then you had propaganda in the schools. Like, I remember when I was in school that they had an EU book, you know, a little booklet about how great the EU was, and this was geography or whatever. You know, you'd be learning about in your geography and history. EU is great, blah 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 blah, and so, you know, you're being brainwashed in school, and it's constant. So now I wouldn't say, like, I'd say I think it's that 30%, 20%, it's probably really low now, maybe 5-10% now. That's anti-EU sentiment, which is a shame. You
Do
know.
you think so? Because I'd say in this country it's got very anti-EU. You know.
Yeah, but that's what, my point is that this is your time to grasp it, because you might not get this chance again. I mean,
Well, no, exactly.
you know, you don't know what way they're gonna
Exactly. They
turn the screws.
supposed to win that referendum. That was never supposed to happen. Even the government at the time, David Cameron's government, put a £9.2 million leaflet out to every home, telling us exactly what would happen if we left. And they said on there, we recommend people stay, but everyone against that. And they knew exactly what we were voting for. We were told we'd leave the customs union and single market, you know. We were told that, and that's why we voted for it. Many people made a well-educated decision to do that, and they need to respect it. You know, we're not stupid. We know what we want. But like I said, if we don't grab this chance now and leave, then we'll never get out. We won't, because they'll then drag it to another referendum. They'll probably rig it. It wouldn't surprise me. They'll do anything to stop us leaving, because if we leave and make a success of it, what's that going to say to the rest of those EU nations? You know, they're all going to want out. But,
I think, yeah, I mean, I think probably, you know, if England does leave, there'll be a lot of Irish will be, you know, pissed off, because they'll say, "Oh God, England left and we didn't."
Well, I know, but maybe we can be that beacon of hope though to other countries. You know, so it's like when we pulled off that referendum result, which we didn't think was going to happen. It gave things like people in America hope within Trump and things like that. Things can be changed, despite what the media says. You know, just ignore it. It's just rubbish. They just put out any old rubbish they want. But people can do it, and we can win. But like I said, that was only one battle in the war, and it's still not over yet. 3.5 years on, we're still talking about. We still haven't left. You know, we're gonna make sure we do leave. Absolutely, 100%.
So if England, I mean, I guess the danger from the EU perspective is that if the UK, I should say UK, if the UK did leave, do you think that the EU would survive?
Well, I mean, if you look at some of their finances, actually the EU's proper finances, their accounts haven't been audited over 20 years, so no one really knows. But if you look at some countries like Italy and I think Spain, they both owe like $1 trillion each. All these countries owe in money, and very few putting in. Like I think France, Germany, and the UK are the main ones pumping money in. But it's like with anything, though, if you put all money into a big pot and take out, it's going to be winners and losers. But we've lost out so badly over the last 40 years. It's been appalling value for money, but we've been propping up other countries, and that's the worst thing. So they are absolutely frightened that once our money stops going in, that where they're going to get it from. And they talk about this 40 billion we're going to give them, but I mean, what for? Why should we just hand over 40 billion? You don't just hand over something. I want to see an itemised bill for it. That's a lot of money. You have taxpayers' money, but that's why we need to stop. And we're still sending them, God knows how much, 55 million pound a day, and have been since the 29th of March. So once this tap's turned off, they're going to have serious problems, and they know it as well. All they're doing is buying time before it collapses. But one thing I am concerned about, though, is will there be widespread problems over the continent? There could be some real problems. You know, we've heard about the EU army and things like that. We've heard about Greece owing all that money because they've been bailed out so many times. It makes you wonder, you know, if those tanks will start rolling into places like that. Very, very worrying. I think the continent's going to suffer a very volatile period over the next 10 to 15 years when we leave. And
as same with Ireland, if it hadn't kicked off in Ireland, they'll blame the Brexiteers. They'll say, "Oh, it's all your fault," you know, without looking at the bigger picture. So I think the UK is the second biggest contributor to the EU after Germany, so that's going to be a big hole. I also made the point in the notes that it's a big voting bloc, the UK. What I read somewhere was that UK and Germany together, it's a good counterbalance to countries like Greece and Italy and maybe Spain and France that maybe have a more socialistic outlook on, you know, like cutting corporation taxes and giving away freebies, like, you know, more welfare, and
Yeah.
so that could be a worry for Germany, because if they don't have their traditional ally in voting against all these crazy ideas coming from France,
Yes.
France suddenly comes to the fore on Macron, and he's going to fill France is going to fill the voting void. You know, so that could be interesting. You know, with that clash, you know, with Germany and their tight, they want to have a tight budget, and then in France, you know, I mean, that's going to be a problem.
It is going to be a very big problem. There's going to be a lot of internal squabbling over there, but we have to leave them to it. You know, the thing is, the longer we stretch this thing out, because it's inevitably going to collapse at some point. Because you've already heard that Guy Verhofstadt said, he spoke about creating an empire.
The world order of tomorrow is not a world order based on nation states or countries. It's a world order that is based on empires. China is not a nation, it's a civilization, Han. India, you know it better than I do, is not a nation. There are 2,000 nations in India. There are 20 different languages that are used there. There are 4 big religions at the same time. It is the biggest democracy worldwide. The US is also an empire, more than a nation. Maybe tomorrow they will speak there more Spanish than English. I don't know what will happen. And then finally the Russian Federation. The world of tomorrow is a world of empires in which we Europeans and you British can only defend your interest, your way of life, by doing it together in a European framework and in the European Union.
You know, history's taught us that empires always end up collapsing in the end, because you get too many greedy people and it turns up into a dictatorship, and people start rebelling against it. So the best way that we can work, or have a united Europe, is we're all sovereign countries, all doing great, you know, tariff-free trade with each other, and work that way. We don't need this parliament telling how to run our life. That's what we want. You know, because I love Europe. I think it's a fantastic continent, but people seem to also get confused between the European Union and the continent itself, you know. So I just hope, well, the sooner we stop the funding, sooner it collapses, sooner we can all just move on, you know, into this new world.
So Brexit pretty much has divided the UK, you could say. Or north and south, and perhaps London against the rest of the country. You feel that every day yourself, like walking around Swindon, or do you? Maybe you're from a real, I don't know, is it a real Brexit town, or what is it?
We voted to leave. I mean, we're doing stalls most weekends within the town, and we just get fantastic feedback. People are so pleased to see us. And I think we had a 10,000 majority in favour of Brexit, but I tell you what, it'd be much bigger than that now, much bigger. But most people just want it done and dusted. They're all just tired of it, you know, because all it seems to be doing is keeping people divided all the time, and it's not good. And it seems like, you know, in every aspect of society. But there don't seem to be that many Remainers around now, but the ones that are definitely radicalised. And they tend to fight like a wounded animal, you know. They're just so radicalised. They just want to stop us from leaving the European Union. But if you ask them what's so fantastic about the EU and why we should stay, they just don't know. All they talk about maybe is the economy and things, which again is just, it's all down to it may or may not. You know, we just do not know what's going to happen. But I mean, if you look at how much we put in, I mean, surely we can't do. We've got to do better. We buy far more from Europe. So if we suddenly stuck tariffs on that trade, they're going to be the ones biggest hit. We just buy our stuff from elsewhere. It's not a problem.
So do you think there'd be like, I presume if England did, or the UK, sorry, the UK did leave, then there would be a little bit of a downturn as you know, you're trying to find your own feet at the start. But
yeah,
I guess America would come in, Trump, you'd have a big partnership there. Probably then you can make your own deals with China and India, Australia. Yeah. I mean, and I think probably eventually, especially Germany. I mean, Germany's a big trading partner with the UK, so I think it would come around eventually, wouldn't it?
Well, like everyone's got a BMW or Mercedes, you know, so we're buying a hell of a lot of their cars. So they'd be very, very worried about that. They sell a hell of a lot to us. But, you know, what we're seeing again, though, you could even, like, run parallels to the end of, say, World War II, when we were, you know, everyone, it was a completely different time, you know, London being bombed and all that, but we was at a low point, but we built everything back up again, you know, because not everything's about money, because the problem with money, it corrupts people as well. And this is why we need a good clean out. We need a good clean out of Parliament, a good flushing, you know, and press the reset button. And this is a golden opportunity to do it. Because if we don't, then God knows where anything's going to end up. There'll just be a new European empire, and then they'll be fighting with America one day or something. God knows. It's going down the wrong route. That's the problem. A dictatorship never ends up well.
Yeah. So, Martin, you went for parliamentary elections in 2017 and local elections in 2019 for the UKIP party. I think you were unsuccessful. I think there were hard seats to take. I mean, Conservatives had a big hold.
I mean, in 2017 general election, what we saw, we had both Tories and Labour saying, yes, we're going to honour Brexit. And of course, everyone thought, well, there's no need for UKIP then. But we're like saying, no, don't trust them. It's not going to happen. You know, all we need is a few seats in there to help out. And don't forget, in 2017, actually, it's hung Parliament. And what we've seen at the moment, we've got the DUP in there with 10 seats. You know, that could have been UKIP helping pushing Brexit through. So obviously people didn't see, and then everyone was fed up with this austerity and getting told by the likes of Jeremy Corbyn that he's going to, you know, give them money or everything they want. And it was a funny time, really. But since then, obviously, we've seen a lot of people's opinions changed. But I mean, for myself personally, it was a fantastic experience because, you know, I learned a lot from that whole process. It was something I never really set out to do. But, you know, it was kind of a duty for me to run, really. And obviously, I'd never expected us to get in. But I learned a lot from the experience. And it helps me, really. And if I'm needed again, I'm sure I'll do that again. But it's been good to go out and meet local people in the community and things, and find out what their problems are as well. And so this has all been good strings to my bow, I suppose. You know, it's sad I had to leave UKIP, but I thank them for the time I had. And so, you know, it's a point in my life I'll never forget.
Yeah. Did you lose your sanity a few times in the election process?
Well, yeah, I could have done quite easily.
Yeah.
You know, UKIP had so much potential, but it just went down the wrong path. That was the problem with it. It was such a shame. So many hard workers put so much time into it. Yeah.
So you left the UKIP recently to join the Brexit Party. What did I don't know if you'd be prepared to say it, Martin, but it's okay. But what do you think of the UKIP's change of direction under Gerard Batten? I mean, personally, I think he comes across. I mean, he's certainly a lot better than what they had before. I think, and he's a good public speaker. But I think he's in the right party at the wrong time, perhaps. You know, because you have Brexit.
Yes.
Nigel Farage, and you can't have.
Yeah. The problem is Gerard did do a good job. I mean, he made mistakes. But the thing is, they should have just kept focus on Brexit. They were going off talking about other things, you know, which there may, you know, like you said, he's maybe a good man, but at the wrong sort of time in a lot of ways. But we should have just kept the focus on Brexit. That was the problem. When you're going to start alienating people if you start attacking different ideologies and things, aren't you? And you're going to appear to be racist or whatever. And these are sort of things that they should not have been concerned with. While Brexit hadn't been delivered, so that was the huge issue we had with UKIP, and that's why we needed something different. But it's just such a shame and a real wasted opportunity because it takes a long time to build a party up, really. You know, and the Brexit Party will find that as well. You know, it may appear to be big at the moment, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Of course, like any party, you know, UKIP all that time to get where it got.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're probably right then. I mean, he did recruit a lot of YouTubers, like Count Dankula and what's the Sargot of Arakan?
Yeah, Paul Joseph Watson.
Yeah, and even brought Tommy Robinson into foot. But you're right, that probably he did lose focus there. I mean, it was an interesting approach, but as you said, that's something that probably needs more long-term thinking. I mean, it seemed a bit haphazard as well. But I mean,
well, it's crazy. I mean, these people here, obviously, they're good at what they do, and I guess he was probably under the impression that, say, Sargon's got 1 million YouTube followers, they're all going to vote for UKIP. But, you know, when you actually look at the demographics and things, 80% at least are actually based in the States, you know. And actually, I'd never heard of him before he came to UKIP. Like, many of, like, people, like, mature voting age probably wouldn't have heard of him either. But, I mean, when you've got someone, like, getting their dog or whatever to do a Nazi thing for views and stuff, I mean, I'm sure he's a nice bloke, but, I mean, how is that going to help with Brexit, you know? It's just going to alienate people and give the wrong impression, because it's all about, you know, the impression.
Okay, so you're with the Brexit Party, so I guess you changed because of you wanted to be more focused with the clear message that Nigel was.
Well, exactly, and I mean, when the Brexit Party came up and we knew then we were going to face the EU elections, I just had to back something that focused on Brexit, and that was it. So, you know, with a heavy heart, leave UKIP, but obviously that night that we had in May with the Brexit Party, we basically trounced. Well, certainly in Swindon, we had a massive result. Absolutely, I think we had about 20,000 votes in Swindon. To second place Lib Dems on like 9,000. It was an incredible night, and we knew it was the right decision then, and we knew then that the voters were being sensible about this, and it was a good chance for them to express how angry they are about it.
Okay.
So. Yeah, it was something that I had to do. Obviously, in Swindon, I'm known as Mr. Brexit, so I had to put all my weight behind it, and thank God it paid off. And we got Anne Widdecombe into Strasbourg, Brussels.
Yeah, I like her. She's great.
May I say that if I needed any convincing at all, that the best thing for Britain is to leave here as soon as possible. It was the way that those elections were conducted yesterday. Because if that is this place's idea of democracy, then that is a serious betrayal of every country that is represented here. Because it is not democratic at all. And that is just one of many reasons why Britain is right to be leaving this place, hopefully on Halloween. And it is right because there is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. I represent the southwest of the United Kingdom.
Piano, facciamo
and
concludere.
I found on my very first day that this place has decided, at least this place hasn't, the powers that be have decided to actually increase the size of fishermen's meshes, thereby reducing their income by 40%. That's what you do here. That's why we're going.
Grazie,
News
concluda.
along, wir gehen, we're off.
So that, yeah, I mean, you do well in the Euro election, but do you think that will translate into a national election? Because I know, like, people support Brexit and everything, but they're just hardwired to support.
They are.
What are the other parties, you know, Labour or Conservative?
And that's the problem we have in Swindon. You know, we've got people who'd vote for Labour if they stuck the rose out on a donkey. That is the problem, because they'll vote for Labour because their parents did and their parents did. It's like supporting a football team, and we need to get these thoughts out of people's heads. and they need to start actually looking at what they're voting for. What's in the manifesto? What are the pledges? What will they deliver? Because it's okay saying promising this, that, and the other. I could go out and do that, but if it's not going to happen, you're just cheating people. And some people are so naive, they'll just always vote for Labour. And that's extremely dangerous. That really is. Even on a council level, if you look in Swindon at our council, we've got quite a lot of Labour councillors in there, and they're totally incompetent, and they ruined our town. People get elected on the colour of their badge, and it could be anyone, and that's why our town's is really declining rapidly. And it's such a shame to live there all my life and to see that happening. It's awful. So my biggest message to people is just please, it doesn't matter who you vote for, but please understand what you're voting for and read manifestos and pledges and then make an informed decision. You're lucky to have a vote. People die to allow people to have votes, so don't waste it.
So what do you think of the divisions within? Well, I mean, there's divisions in both parties, Conservative and Labour. Is that going to be a permanent thing now? Do you think that'll ever be healed? It's looking like the Labour. I don't think that. There won't be.
The problem is, it's not really between left and right anymore. It's certainly in our country. It's leave or remain, and that's what we're seeing. And because we've seen people leave, I suppose, Labour to join the Lib Dems and such like, and even Conservatives leaving to move to Lib Dems. It's just completely all messed up and on its head at the moment.
Well, you see. Sorry to cut you there, but you see, the Conservatives now are appealing to working class communities, and North of England working communities, and they're promising to spend money on healthcare and transport, etc. Like this is the Conservative Party, like Jesus.
They're crapping themselves. They're doing it in Swindon as well. Suddenly they're putting loads of money into the schools and this. And then, other people say, well, where's this magic money tree that you spoke of that doesn't exist? So where is the money coming from?
Yeah. So, it's like they're doing what Labour used to promise, and it has turned on its head. But so people are people wise to that, or what's it like in Swindon? Or
well, you know what, we're waking people up to it, and that's why we're so lucky to have social media, because if we didn't have this, people would still have their heads in the sand, But then that's why it's important to go out and speak to people and use social media. Because, before they'd call you like a crackpot and stuff, but, come and challenge me then. Let's have a discussion about whatever you think. Don't just vote for things just for the sake of it. Have an actual think. And if you want to challenge me, I welcome people to challenge me. I might not know everything. Come and, that's what we need. We need more honesty in politics, because that's where it's all gone wrong as well. We're just being lied to all the time. And that's what people are most fed up with. As soon as Brexit is sorted out, we then have to very much focus on sorting our democracy out, because it is under an absolute. It's never been so bad.
And then we have the new Greens coming along, the Green agenda, Green Party. That's it was social issues that were the big hot thing 5-10 years for the last 5-10 years, but now it's the green issue that's going to be a big thing. We're seeing it all over the place. Like Green parties in Germany is doing well, and in Ireland they did well. But I mean, it's just it's not really about the environment. It's just a voting bloc, isn't it?
Exactly, that's all it is. I'm sure their hearts are in the right places, but unless they give us real evidence of these issues that are happening, real tangible evidence and real tangible ways of resolving them, then we can't take them seriously, I'm afraid. But I'm sure their hearts are in the right places, but it tends to be just the I suppose people at university who won't vote Labour vote for them instead. But again, it's like I said, it's just a waste of votes, really. Because
it's another division in the left, really, isn't it? Like or the anti-Brexit grouping. Now the Greens added onto it, and they're just cutting into their own base, really. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, it's really, I can't see how Conservatives with some Brexiteers, I can't see how they could lose an election. You know.
Well, exactly, and I mean that's why Boris Johnson needs to seriously think about some sort of a pact with the Brexit Party, because he would sweep back in, he really would do. But you know, he needs to realise that his party's made a lot of mistakes with a lot of people as well, and so let's just cut out all the rot and start again. And a pact with the Brexit Party, we can start to talk business then, and most of all, we can start getting our country back on track, because it's basically had the crap kicked out of it over the last 15 years. It really has done, with mass immigration and you know, lack of investment and funding and things. And we need to get it back, you know, to the nation we were proud it once was.
So, what about your own plans then for the future? Do you see yourself going for another election, local or national, or?
It's possible. It's a possibility, maybe for the Brexit Party. But well, let's see how things go. Really, if they want my services and I make myself available. But you know, for me, you know, I'm quite happy with the career I've got. But I just feel like I got involved in this because things have got so bad, and I just feel it's more of a duty really to try and help set things back on the right path again of honesty and integrity. So if I was to have to put myself forward to run for something like that, of course I'd do it for my country. You know, a lot of good people died for our country and our freedom as well. You know, and live in memory. You know, because the lefties or the young always mock about, oh, this was ages ago. But, you know, people shed blood on the beaches of things like Normandy for our freedom. And we shouldn't forget that. Some of those could still be alive today. You know, they defended our freedom. So, you know, it might not be by the sword, but by the pen now. But, you know, I'd certainly, if I could do anything for my country, then I'd certainly do it. You know, it means a lot to me in our future.
That was one thing that really annoyed me about one of the treaties that we were going for in Ireland, that we had a Lithuanian Prime Minister. I think she was a lady. It could be Lithuanian woman, I think. And she came over to Ireland to lecture the Irish about how to vote. And this is a country like Ireland is like England. We fought for me, guys, but we fought for our freedom.
Exactly.
It's a small little shitty country coming over to lecture us on how to vote to these things and what we should be doing. And and as far as I know, Lithuania never fought for anything. They didn't just have it.
No, that's it. The audacity! She should have been kicked out of Ireland for that.
It's just so annoying that you have countries like that have to.
I think they know better than us.
Because I think it is a difference for in a country to grow up in a country where you know that your ancestors have fought and shed for you to stand on the soil and be counted as an proud Englishman or a proud Irishman, as opposed to a country where that never happened. So you don't have that back memory. You don't have the ancestors that fought and done anything, you know.
But this is what they want, though. They want to flood Europe with mass immigration, though, to take all those ideas out as well, though. So you don't have any history, you know. They don't want that. They want everyone to be just one race, basically, that they can control. That's what they ultimately want. And these countries just get in the way of the national sovereignty because that goes against their plans.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why we have borders, you know, because we have different cultures and we're different, and that's fantastic. And people should embrace that. You know, it's fantastic. We can go to Italy and meet Italians, or Germany meet the Germans, but they just want to just have everyone completely the same, you know. And we're not the same. We've got all proud of our histories and heritage. You know, even like mine back in Costello, back in Ireland, my grandparents, you know, so I've got history there, and we're proud of all these roots that we've got that make us who we are.
Yeah. Just are you positive for the future? I mean, do you think it's going to happen, or do you still think? I mean, behind all the bluster and bullshit that Boris is going on.
Yeah. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and that's what I'm really worried about. But as we always need, this is a long game. But I think ultimately, at the moment, we're in our darkest hour. But I think the dawn is about to rise again, and you know, we'll keep fighting for it, and it will get better. It can't get any worse, really. What we're seeing at the moment, it's got to get better.
Well, I think like Labour wanted it to be pushed back till February or March or something, or I just don't think it can go any. I think
It
people
can't. It's embarrassing for our country, though. It looks bad on us.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing about it. It looks like they're incompetent, which they are.
Yeah.
But I heard about a year ago, all the civil servants, like all our plans for a no-deal Brexit in place. But there's some very dodgy, sinister things going on. Otherwise, we'd have left ages ago. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what's going on. But it's all falling apart now. And I tell you what, we're going to make sure we blow them out of the water if we don't leave on the 31st of October. Enough's enough.
Well, with today's announcement that they have this deal, it's like when you see the EU with happy faces and saying, yeah, there might be a deal, and when you see the Irish Prime Minister,
I bet they're happy.
That doesn't look good to me. Like when they're
happy, there's something bad going on.
Unless the British representatives threatened them, that saying we won't play ball in the Parliament and we'll withhold monies owed, etc., etc. Unless they did that, played hardball, and unless that's given them some leeway to sell the idea of Brexit, then I don't know. Maybe it's so hard to know. I mean,
all it is I know. Well, we weren't supposed to leave. That's a fact. And now they're just trying everything to stop it from happening. And we've seen the Project Fear. The media remain really badly responsible for that. But people just laugh at it now. I mean, there was a thing in the paper, in the Kent paper recently, about, they said dogging would rise in a no-deal Brexit or something. I don't know what that's got to do with anything, but all these sorts of silly things. Oh, we're not going to get medicine. We're not going to get this. We're not going to get that. It's just scaremongering people in, and that's what I find so disgusting. And when this is all over and the dust is settled, there needs to be an inquiry of what actually happened, and because there's so many treacherous people that need to be on trial for what they've done. It's absolutely appalling. This is probably why Tony Blair abolished the Treason Act, because he'll be one of the first lined up, I expect.
Well,
it's terrible, man.
There's traitors in every country, man.
They're the worst form of enemy, though. The enemy within is the worst enemy.
I mean, they sell out the country for a pretty penny and whatever, but I don't
know.
So, Martin, apart from your YouTube site, are there any other ways people can follow you on social media or online?
Yeah, I've got my Facebook page, and I post on that every day. So. With the latest things, normally showing up lefties for what they are, and show you things that the mainstream media won't report on, which I think is quite important, because we need a balanced view as well.
Do you get much hassle when you're on the streets in Swindon, or?
No, I get people like to see me, actually. It's really nice, when you go out to the pub or whatever, people really just want to come up and chat to you and stuff, which is fantastic. I get there was the local Labour mob that we've had protest against us previously, but they're just radicalised, and it's the same old faces every week that turn up. They like doing pro-refugee marches and things, or pro-migrant marches and things. They're just trying to whip up all the lefty sort of stuff. But so they obviously hate me because I try to show them up what they are, bunch of bigoted hypocrites, basically, because that's what they are. But otherwise, no, I love my town and my country. I'm just gutted the direction it's heading.
At least it's heading in some direction. I mean, it's better than.
Well, once we get Britain out, we'll get Ireland out.
We'll be okay. Don't worry about us. We'll eventually figure it out. We're always last. We're always last at the party. That's why Paddy last, I was going to say, I would imagine that Labour is like Sinn Féin in Ireland. You have to remember, like, I know in England and the UK, Sinn Féin you have your own view of Sinn Féin, but in Ireland, Sinn Féin it was kind of like, we have our Labour movement in Ireland, but they let down the people twice before. Working class people turned in their droves to Sinn Féin, so Sinn Féin was the new party on the left in Ireland. But I imagine they're similar to what Labour is like in the north of England, because they've gone into identity politics, etc. They're
pandering.
they're globalists and Europeans, but they're not nationalists. They're not Irish. I mean, imagine Sinn Féin. I don't think they even call themselves a nationalist party anymore. I think it's Republican, Socialist Republican, or something stupid like that. It's not. Yeah. They're not Irish nationalists, you know. I mean,
what Labour don't understand is though that outside of London, it's completely different. It is a different country. You know, that's an island there. It's completely different. And the further up north you go in England, it is totally different. You know, and there's many Labour constituencies up north. Many of them, you know, from industrial towns. And these people feel so betrayed by Labour because they all voted to leave, and then suddenly you got their politicians in there trying to keep us in the EU. And it's like, well, that's not what we wanted. You're supposed to be speaking for the working class, like when the party was formed. You know, all the workers got together, but it's just something else now, and it's such a shame because if they did their jobs right, then we wouldn't be in this mess. Because to have a decent government, you need a decent opposition. And that's why we've got such a rubbish government, because the opposition's far worse. You know, when you look at the likes of Diane Abbott and people like this, you know.
Well, I mean, Corbyn, like he was always a bit anti-EU as well, wasn't he?
His whole career he was up until the last year or so.
So he's just like he's turned on a sixpence like them all, you know. So
it's very sad to see. Very sad. You know?
So, sorry, Martin. So I just want to appreciate you giving me your time today and giving my viewers the lowdown and expert insight into the mess that is Brexit. And thanks for that, Martin. And I do hope that the United Kingdom, I do hope the United Kingdom eventually leaves on the 31st of October. Fingers crossed, but it'll be fun and games anyway, I'm sure, up to that point. So thanks, Martin, and keep up.
Thanks very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.